Our story begins in spring, where the new semester starts, and it's our protagonist Kuroki's first day in a new class. Beside him is the rumored Jirai girl who has unique characteristics such as red eyes, skin that looks like a doll, and an expression that contains sorrow. Kuroki only knew her from the rumors and never dared to talk to her before due to his ordinary appearance. While he's walking in the hallway, he often hears rumors about the Jirai girl who sits beside him. He realizes that Kihara Mai is very popular in the school but is also known to be not someone to mess with. Kuroki can't even imagine himself talking to Kihara due to the rumors about her. One day in the classroom, Kuroki notices Kihara looking at him with a chilling gaze. Kuroki wonders if Kihara is angry at him because he stared at her for too long. Wondering what to do in this situation, Kuroki decides to apologize, but then, without him noticing, Kihara is now facing in his direction, looking straight at his face. Kuroki is now in a dilemma, trying to calm himself down and not be scared of Kihara. Despite being nervous, Kuroki still chooses to ask Kihara, who is now very close to him. He notices that Kihara is almost beside him and accidentally glances at Kihara's chest. He immediately looks away, fearing Kihara might notice it. Kuroki mindlessly asks himself what Kihara could possibly want from him, while in his mind, Kihara is just making fun of him. Kihara, who's still looking straight at Kuroki, decides to lean and whisper to him that she wants to see his textbook. Kuroki mindlessly hands his math textbook to Kihara, reminding her that she's very close. Kuroki now realizes that Kihara is not that dangerous, despite all the rumors about her. To Kuroki, Kihara is a very interesting person to know about. Meanwhile, inside the classroom, Kuroki hears his three classmates talking about Kihara, who is now looking at her wrist. According to his classmates, Kihara's behavior is very scary to them. Kuroki silently agrees with them. To him, Kihara's appearance does give off that scary expression. After class, Kuroki finds himself face to face with Kihara in the hallway, giving him a long gum. Kuroki asks Kihara if it's really for him. Kihara, without explaining, decides to eat it and hands it again to Kuroki. Even though Kuroki doesn't know the reason why Kihara is giving him a gum, he feels bad for refusing Kihara's goodwill. Kuroki takes a bite while Kihara is observing his reaction. Kuroki decides to share his memory about his experience eating gum long ago, that it feels very nostalgic to him. This results in Kihara's scary laugh, thinking it was a joke, and she gives the rest of the gum to Kuroki, bidding him goodbye. Unbeknownst to him, Kuroki's school life is advancing at a rapid pace. Yet, there are still so many things that he is not used to. He is still afraid of flashy people. To him, flashy people hate him for no reason. He finds Kihara outside the men's bathroom, waiting for him to come out. Kuroki asks Kihara why she is outside the men's bathroom, to which she responds by saying she wants to go home together. It takes a while for Kuroki to process what Kihara said, and when he realizes it, he immediately asks Kihara if she really wants to go home with him. Kihara confirms it with a simple nod, but Kuroki suddenly asks why Kihara wants to go home with him, which shocks Kihara. Without responding to the question, Kihara stands up and walks away. Kuroki immediately goes after her, asking if she also commutes by train. He recommends going together, resulting in Kihara feeling relieved. She thought Kuroki didn't want to go home with her. Outside the school, Kuroki asks Kihara if she rides a bike to the train station. It turns out that neither of them knows how to ride a bike. On their way to the train station, there's an unexplainable silence between them. Kuroki suddenly feels bad and wants to start a conversation, but seeing Kihara's scary expression, he abandons the idea. Kihara suddenly points somewhere, saying she can see a big cat's butt. It turns out that it's just a prop beside a store. Kuroki asks Kihara if her eyes are fine. He gives his glasses to Kihara for her to see what it really is. With a sudden realization, Kihara blushes due to embarrassment and tells Kuroki to forget what happened. At the train station, before parting ways, Kihara gives Kuroki her contact info by writing it on his arm so they can talk outside of school. On his way home, Kuroki blurts out that he got Kihara's contact info to his mom without him realizing it. While Kihara is walking outside her classroom, a girl sneaks behind her and hugs her from behind. The girl asks if she's free and if she wants to go to her classroom to pass the time. Inside the classroom, Kihara's friend Chinatsu Iwakura tells Kihara that her nails are lame. Chinatsu decides to paint Kihara's nails black because it suits her style. Chinatsu tells Kihara that her current boyfriend loves her very much and is very sweet to her. She appreciates Kihara for always listening to her, but all of a sudden, Kihara accidentally bites her cheek and it starts bleeding. Despite that, she asks Kihara if she can take a picture of her nails to send it to her boyfriend, while boasting to Kihara about how fast her current boyfriend reads her messages. Curious, Kihara asks Chinatsu why she needs to send it to her boyfriend. Chinatsu explains that it's a way to communicate. Kihara asks again if doing so will make you closer to the person. Chinatsu asks Kihara if there's someone she wants to get close to. Kihara confirms it with a simple nod, and Chinatsu decides to help Kihara choose some clothes for her and arrange her makeup. Kihara is now reassured that things will go well with her friend assisting her. Kuroki receives a message notification from Kihara while watching a movie before bedtime. Seeing the message with a udon image, Kuroki decides to tell Kihara what he had for dinner. Kihara responds with a cute cat emoji. He finds it amusing why Kihara would eat udon for dinner. To Kuroki, it doesn't suit her demeanor at all. Meanwhile, on the other hand, Kihara feels dazed by how simple Kuroki's reply is to her. On his way to school he hears two students talking about Kihara. Kuroki assumes that they're maliciously talking about Kihara. He decides to tell the two that Kihara is not what they think she is. But it turns out that the two students saw Kihara fall off her bike and are worried about her. The two students ask Kuroki what relationship he has with Kihara. To them, it's very rare for Kuroki to defend Kihara due to rumors. Kuroki decides to hide the fact that they go home together and tells them about the long gum she gave him, which results in a misunderstanding. The two students become even more confused by his explanations. They point out that the two of them are not a match. Kuroki is a normal introverted high school student, while Kihara is the rumored Jirai girl that everyone talks about. Kuroki can't tell them that Kihara is sometimes out of place, which may result in more rumors about her. He decides to tell them about Kihara's obsession with cats' butts, resulting in even more confusion. Kuroki tells them about the other day when Kihara wrote her contact info on his arm, which the two of them can't understand, and they decide not to ask anymore. They realize that Kuroki is worst at telling stories. After the short misunderstanding, Kuroki realizes that he hasn't given back anything to Kihara for the gum she gave him. He decides to look for Kihara in the next classroom, which leads him to meet Chinatsu. He asks Chinatsu if Kihara is in the room, and Chinatsu responds that Kihara is in the school clinic because of her bump from the bike accident. Kuroki, on his way to look for Kihara, meets with an accident as he bumps shoulders with a judo club member. Due to his weak body, he flings into a window and gets carried to the infirmary. Due to the loss of blood, the school nurse advises Kuroki to stay in the infirmary, and she will excuse him from his next class. Meanwhile, on the other side of the infirmary, Kuroki feels a presence that is looking at him. After finding no one, he convinces himself that it's just his imagination. Kihara sneaks beside Kuroki, asking where he got hurt, which makes Kuroki scream in horror. After calming down, Kuroki explains to Kihara that he bumped his head somewhere and lost a lot of blood. Kihara asks Kuroki if it still hurts when she touches his head. Kuroki responds that it doesn't hurt anymore. Kihara suddenly lifts her hand and touches Kuroki's head, which makes Kuroki blush. Feeling embarrassed, Kuroki grabs Kihara's hand and asks her why she's also in the infirmary. Soon, they both hear footsteps, indicating that someone will enter the clinic. Kihara decides to hide with Kuroki. The school nurse notices that Kuroki is now gone and wonders if he already left. On the other side, where both Kuroki and Kihara are hiding, Kuroki asks himself why Kihara is hiding him. After they both hear that the school nurse is leaving, Kihara leans into Kuroki's back, saying she got a bump on her head. Kuroki panics and accidentally touches Kihara's head, making it worse, which makes Kihara angry. Kuroki thinks that Kihara will hurt him in return and accepts his fate, but Kihara forgives him and pushes him onto the clinic bed, saying goodnight. Kuroki notices how worried Kihara is about him and realizes that he can still smell Kihara's scent. Because of that, he can't sleep. On the next day, Kihara is now preparing to go to school. At the train station, people often glance at her, looking at her weirdly. If not for her not looking down to see her shiny shoes, she realizes that she's wearing the wrong ones but decides not to go back to change them because she will be late for school. At school, a teacher notices Kihara's shiny shoes. The teacher thinks there's a reason behind Kihara's action and decides to understand Kihara and not scold her. In her fourth subject in the gym class, she also brought the wrong gym clothes but decides to go on with it. At lunch break, her dad sends her a message that she forgot her lunch at home. With a little money she has, she only manages to buy 3 candies. When people see Kihara eating only candy at lunch, they think it's cool. When Kuroki sees Kihara eating candies at lunch, he decides to share his lunch with her that his mom made for him. Kuroki asks Kihara if she doesn't like onigiri for lunch. Kihara responds that she loves it. Kuroki is now happy seeing Kihara finally eat something. While others see Kihara's shoes as weird, but for Kuroki, it looks cool. During English class, the teacher asks everyone to find a partner for the activity. Kihara wants to partner with Kuroki, but seeing Kuroki surrounded by her classmates, her hope shatters. Kuroki notices Kihara's mood, and he nervously whispers to Kihara that they can be partners. Hearing that, Kihara's mood lights up a bit. The next day, Kuroki goes outside to buy his little sister a cake for her birthday. In the distance, he sees Kihara for the first time outside of school. He backs away, thinking he shouldn't involve himself in Kihara's personal life. He also thinks that Kihara is meeting someone. Kuroki decides to go back to buy the cake. Kihara notices Kuroki from a distance, but before she can call out to him, a man with a camera asks her permission for a picture. After buying the cake, Kuroki sees Kihara outside the store. Seeing that Kihara is alone, Kuroki decides to greet her, but he gets interrupted by a crying lost child. Kihara also wants to help the child, but she hesitates because kids are often intimidated by her looks. Seeing a mask store nearby, she decides to buy one to cover her face and help Kuroki. Kuroki wonders if Kihara has been watching him the entire time and decides to help him find the mother of the child. After a while, they find the mother of the kid. Kuroki thanks Kihara for helping him, as he feels like he's not reliable enough to deal with the situation. But Kihara refutes him, saying he's a reliable person. Next day at school, Kuroki notices Kihara taking out her bento. It's very unusual for Kihara to eat inside the classroom. Kuroki often sees Kihara with another person. For the first time, Kuroki invites Kihara to eat together on the rooftop. Then he asks Kihara if she's troubled by his invitation. Kihara answers confused, and Kuroki, instead of thanking Kihara for talking to him despite his introverted personality, says the opposite of what he wants to say. Kihara's friend, Chinatsu Iwakura, visits her to play, or rather, to use her to play. Today, Chinatsu is going to make Kihara wear different clothes and do her makeup. Kihara decides to prepare first before the cosplay session with Chinatsu. After preparing, Chinatsu asks Kihara which outfit she wants to wear. Kihara chooses the most intense outfit that matches her style. After the makeup session, Kihara wears several outfits before they decide to stop and rest.